Hello everyone, my name is Sean Broderick, and in this presentation I'm going to be presenting on two scientists from cultures outside of America and how discussing them in a classroom setting can promote multicultural education. In American classrooms, we do not learn about many scientists outside of Europe or America. By incorporating these scientists into the classroom, we are able to see the impact of people from all over the world in our advancements in science. Now, the reason this is so important to consider is that the American school system is becoming very multicultural. It is important that we value the accomplishments of people from all cultures so that each student is proud of their own cultural background and feel valued and accepted in the classroom. This will motivate students to learn more and work harder in school. The first scientist that I have chosen to discuss is Nobel Prize winner Shinya Yamanaka from Osaka, Japan. I chose to research Dr. Yamanaka due to his massive impact in the field of genetics in his stem cell research. Being from Japan, discussing Dr. Yamanaka's research and accomplishments is an effective way to acknowledge and celebrate the culture of many Asian and Asian American students. In educating Asians and Asian American students, there comes difficulty in combating the racist caricatures placed on them, such as penny-pinching convenience store owners and kung fu fighters. Teaching about a famous Japanese scientist is an effective way to challenge these stereotypes in the classroom and promote acceptance and self-value. Okay, so firstly, Shinya Yamanaka was born on the 4th of September in 1962 in Osaka, Japan. He actually had an interest in science from a very young age and used to enjoy dismantling and reassembling clocks and radios. He would also read scientific magazines and perform experiments with the activity kits that came with them. In his high school, they were taught to value both academics and sports, much like the American school system here. So Yamanaka decided to participate in judo and rugby. Following high school, he proceeded to study medicine at Kobe University School of Medicine, where he continued his judo and rugby. In participating in these sports, he suffered many injuries, which motivated him to become an orthopedic surgeon. In Yamanaka's experiences as a surgeon, he realized that there were so many diseases that even a surgeon could not treat, so he decided to move on and become a scientist instead, so that he could make a larger impact in saving lives. After grad school, he gained an interest in mouse embryonic stem cells and began to hypothesize that their pluripotency could induce pluripotency in human somatic cells. It wasn't until 2004, when he moved to Kyoto University as a professor, that he could actually test this hypothesis. And just in case any of you are wondering, pluripotency is basically when a cell can differentiate and become any type of cell in the body. Now, after 2 years of being at Kyoto University, Dr. Yamanaka found a way to reprogram adult specialized cells and turn them into stem cells that can differentiate to any type of cell. These cells are called induced pluripotent stem cells, or iPS cells for short. In nature, only embryonic stem cells are pluripotent, which is why it was such an amazing discovery. In the medical field, iPS cells have many advantages, including being able to create entire new organs and tissues. This is useful for patients who need organ transplants. And an interesting fact about this is that in just 3 weeks, an induced pluripotent stem cell can be generated from any cell in the body, regardless of the person's age. So, for example, someone who is 82 years old could have a skeletal muscle cell generated into an induced pluripotent stem cell. On this slide, you can see a simple diagram where iPS reprogramming factors are added to the adult cell in order to create the stem cell. From this, the stem cell can differentiate into any tissue ranging from skin cells to cardiac muscle cells. Currently, they are using iPS cells to treat diseases by replacing the cells damaged from disease. They have also found that transplants are more likely to succeed as the cells are taken from the patient's own cells and are therefore more likely to be accepted by their immune system. The current challenge in using iPS cells for treatment is that it is found that they are not always completely reprogrammed as stem cells. They have also found that it is difficult to make it affordable and effective for treatment. Hopefully in years to come, researchers can find a way around these problems. Now again, relating it back to the classroom, it can be seen from all of this that Shinya Yamanaka is a great scientist that should definitely be included in the school curriculum. I stress that our schools are becoming so multicultural, yet we continue to tailor the curriculum to white Euro-American students. Including multiple cultures not only brings out in the minority groups in classes, but also teaches the dominant groups to be more open-minded and not so arrogant of other cultures. Celebrating the exciting development in science from someone of Asian ethnicity, and with all of these major accomplishments, gives Asian and Asian American students a reason to be proud of their ethnicity and culture. Finally, the racist stereotypes of Asians will be removed or at least reduced from learning about this scientist. The second scientist that I have chosen to study is nuclear physicist and peace activist Mian. I chose to present on him not only because of his accomplishments, but also for his stance against nuclear weapons and his support for world peace. Mian is very active in being a regular columnist for Foreign Policy in Focus. He is the co-director of Program on Science and Global Security. He is the editor of many books about nuclear power and weaponry, and he has even produced several documentaries on the issue of nuclear science. Being from Pakistan, Mian would make another great scientist to discuss in the school classroom because of his diverse cultural background and his different perspectives. Just like with Shinya Yamanaka, discussing a scientist of minority culture will help promote multiculturalism in the classroom. Firstly, looking at some background information on his life, Mian was born in Lahore, Punjab, Pakistan, and he spent his early education in Lahore until moving to the United Kingdom to get a Bachelor of Science in Physics and a Master's in Science at Newcastle University. Upon graduating from grad school, he chose to focus on nuclear weapons and nuclear energy policy, which has been his main topic for research and discussion ever since. From all of his work in his documentaries, books, and position as the co-director of the Project on Peace and Security, Mian received the Linus Pauling Legacy Award for his accomplishments as a scientist and as a peace activist in contributing to global effort for nuclear disarmament and for a more peaceful world. In terms of his role as the co-director of the Project on Peace and Security, Mian has largely contributed to the international journals supporting international security, arms control, disarmament, and non-proliferation policy. Included in this, the journal goes over issues of nuclear, biological, chemical, and space technologies, and the policies that should be put in place to reduce the risk of military use of these technologies. Essentially, the overall goal of the project and the journals are to ensure that dangerous weapons are not allowed to be misused, ever made to begin with, or destroyed completely and safely. Continuing from this, Mian is also on the International Panel of Fissile Materials, or IPFM for short. This panel was formed to secure and reduce the stockpiles of fissile materials, such as highly enriched plutonium and uranium. A fissile material is basically any material that can sustain a nuclear fission chain reaction. Now, highly enriched uranium and plutonium are the key ingredients to building nuclear weapons. Therefore, the IPFM aim to limit any further production of these materials in order to ensure future peace from nuclear dangers, both for the human race and all other life on Earth. In 2016, the panel actually succeeded and banned the production of highly enriched uranium, an important step in nuclear disarmament. Also, the picture you can see here is an example of what highly enriched uranium looks like. The final thing I would like to discuss about Mian is one of his articles that he published online for Foreign Policy in Focus. The article Nuclear Promises, published in 2009, showed how Mian suggested to President Barack Obama and the Obama administration in how to abolish nuclear weaponry. The article essentially starts with looking back at history, with numerous resolutions and treaties being made to abolish nuclear weapons since the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Although the world was terrified of the horrors of this event and wanted to prevent such a thing from ever occurring again, countries were not disarming their nuclear weapons, and in fact weapons increased in arsenal for many countries over the years. The main reason behind much of this is the fear of being left defenseless against other countries with nuclear arms. Mian states that the issue with nuclear weaponry is completely political. They are instruments of violence and are given their meaning and purpose by the politics behind them. Until great powers such as the United States take action to seize nuclear weapon modernization and begin the disarmament of their current stockpile, nuclear abolition is never going to happen. Once the United States and Russia act, other countries will follow, and this is the way we will achieve a world free from the dangers of nuclear weapons. All of Mian's efforts for world peace set a great example of another perspective on nuclear weaponry from cultures outside of the United States. I'm sure that many people may initially support maintaining nuclear arms in order for self-defense against other countries. However, viewing things from Mian's perspective from South Asia, we begin to see that the only way to truly achieve world peace is for the most powerful countries to act first. Otherwise, the smaller powers are not going to follow because they don't have the power to defend themselves against the larger powers. So once the United States and Russia begin taking an act, then other countries will follow their lead. Finally, I'm going to wrap up with the main multicultural aspects that come into play when incorporating these scientists into classroom settings. I've mentioned many of the aspects throughout, such as decreasing racial stereotypes towards Asians, promoting and celebrating each student's individual culture, and incorporating multiple perspectives. All of these aspects come under the multicultural education principle to acknowledge life histories and experiences of students and their families through culturally responsive teaching. This topic also relates to the Sisters of Mercy critical concern of non-violence. This is mostly displayed in the section about Mian and his success as a peace activist. This is a very important lesson to put into the classroom, as the fight for world peace is ongoing, and by instilling it into the next generation of children, we may finally solve some of our current issues. On this slide, I have a few more scientists from other cultures that could be presented in addition to what I've talked about today. I'm not going to go into them, but if you would like to research them further, these are their names and just some basic facts about them. And finally, here is my works cited page for anyone that would like to research anything in more detail. And I would like to thank you all very much for watching.